Welcome to Clocking the Gallop on a Thursday. It seems like ages, an eternity since Neil and I did this together. Our paths haven't really crossed much this last couple of weeks, Neil, but I know you've been very busy with other things, and we did manage to catch up with the races on Saturday. We had a good day together, actually, at the races, some fun times with the jockeys afterwards. And one of them gave us a tip for today, which I think you'll share with the public later on. But how are you?
Yeah, it's a lot going on, isn't there? Post COVID and stuff, things are opening up, so busy times. Lots going on. Interesting racing. Looking back at the Arc on the weekend, terrific for Sir Mark Prescott. As you know, Nico, he's been in the game for ages, and there's a South African connection there with the owner who's got horses in relationship with Vaughan Marshall.
That's right.
So it was a day for, I wouldn't say, maybe it's a bit harsh to call them underdogs, but Luke Morris likewise, tremendous for him to win an Arc. And tremendous for us because we tipped the winner. We labelled the winner on our soccershop.bet. So
yeah,
so that was good. Yeah, I thought the Arc was terrific. I mean, I don't know, those French, they do their own thing. I mean, they're leaving very elegant out of the race and stuff. I don't know. There was a lot of hoo-ha about it. And the other thing is that, the going was always going to be heavy, and they watered early on in the week. I don't know. But anyway, maybe they do it to suit their own horses. I'm not too sure.
So even if Baid was injured, it would no doubt have been scratched. They wouldn't have run it anyway, even if it would had kept place. Anyway, that runs at the Champion Stakes end of the month. So looking forward to seeing how he goes there. That's I think it's the last real big flat meeting over in the UK, which will round up their season, their flat racing season. So we look forward to that. But we've got racing on the Vaal Classic track today, as was the case on Tuesday. The main track of the Vaal won't be ready apparently until the beginning of November. So let's go back to the Vaal Classic for today's 8 races. First race, 10:12, is a work riders maiden, 2,000 meters. The track condition is good. It's expected to again get up to 35 degrees centigrade today. And we've had no rainfall, so going is rock hard. In the first race, Neil, just a few changes. No rider yet for 12 French Kitten, and that's the change there. Looking at the betting, it's 9-4 Batik, number 4, and then 33-10, number 1 Brazilian Storm, and 5-1, number 9 Sassy.
Well, I think I went for Brazilian Storm last time, and I was very disappointed the way she emptied out. And I see there was, the veterinary said nothing was detected. So I'm not so sure I want to go back to that well again. What I will say is that obviously over 2,000, the 4-year-olds are particularly well in. So I think one of the 4-year-olds will win. But Batik perhaps is overdue and underrated trainer. And I think that maybe that daughter of Rafif will get it right today. But it is a work riders race, Nico, and you're much better situated than me to comment on these because you commentate a lot of them and you know the jockeys. So what's your gut feeling?
I have to give Brazilian Storm another chance, even though I swore I'd never back her after she ran so poorly last time out. 2 Ideal Future, I would have liked. The rider from a 10 draw worries me. Kolani and Kobo, I don't know whether he's capable of bringing this from a 10 draw through, but I think that she'll go well over the 2,000, being by Futura out of an Ideal World mare. I quite liked her, price 14-1, but the draw worries me. Silk Garden, I thought had a chance for Bridget Stidolf and Sean Patterson and Charmin Mabaya. The Zimbabwean connection there. All of them Zimbabweans. I thought that had a chance. But the horse that interested me probably the most was the 3-year-old filly Sassy, Neil, at 5-1. I know you mentioned the 4-year-olds, but I think she may be better than her rating suggests of a 70. She ran to Pinky Levine last time out. Rarotonga Rose came out and won again, franking that form. If you look at the Pinky Levine run, she's 5 kilos better off with Batik for what was it, a 2.75 length beating. And purely on that run, even though she jumps from a wide draw, I think Sassy would have to be thrown in the mix too. I'm not going for anything outright, but I'm saying wherever you put Batik in at 9-4, Sassy represents the value at 5-1, and would have to chuck in the others that I mentioned as well. I don't like the race at all to start off proceedings. It is the first leg of the bipod, and I'd play wide there.
Okay.
Go on to the second race, which is the start of the PA. It's at 12:40, a maiden plate, 1,200 meters. Here, Neil, scratched on numbers 8, Melech. I don't know if that's the way you pronounce it. Interestingly, number 9, Munchkin, is scratched. So that was also back from 8-1 to 18-10. It's not the first time, and I'll come back to that in a moment. And then number 14, we've got tonight, which was Kenny Rogers and
We've got tonight. Who needs
was it
tomorrow?
Linda Ronstadt? Who was it?
Trying to think. He did so many great duets. No, I
Sheena
think
Easton?
it was.
Sheena Easton?
Yes, I think it was Sheila Easton. Yes,
Yeah,
I think you're
Sheena
right.
Easton.
Now that I'm just listening to her voice, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so that scratch we've got tonight is scratched as well. Now, Munchkin, Neil, I know it's not running, but they backed this heavily on debut. Okay.
Yes.
From 7-1 to 15-10. They put the lights out and it was scratched, right? Then the bookmakers had the gall, after they backed it from 7-1 to 15-10, to price it up again at 8-1. And guess what? It was heavily backed into 18-10. And guess what? It scratched again. Now, surely something's going on there. What's going on with Munchkin?
Well, I was that a deliberate pun on the owner, because it's Dave, isn't it? You said surely something's going on.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if this horse is ever.
No, well, I don't think it's Dave. Hey, I mean, he's not a big punter, is he? Is he a big punter?
He's not
really.
No, he's not a big punter. So maybe it's just coincidental that it's scratched Shinsaw today. It was scratched, by the way, at 6:38 this morning. They got up and scratched it. Got up this morning.
Okay.
Put it out. So it obviously wasn't 100%. Anyway, the point being is that's now out. With that now out, you and I both spoke a little bit this morning. We both liked a bit of this Eye of the Prophet for a bit of value. It's now 7-2, but Desert Fox is the favorite. Pierre Stradum and Boertus Vosloo at 33-20.
Yes, I mean, well, it's a sudden storm. It's going to improve, but of the two, Nico, I see it's got a full set of alamites on today, Desert Fox. I do like Eye of the Prophet. Third run gelded, brings some good form with Shoemaker, and particularly the Casey's, cousin Casey, Captain Casey from KwaZulu-Natal. Rachel's rides, and actually will come in one as well. I'm just seeing, because Munchkin was drawn 4, so now I'm going to jump from even closer to the barrier. I think it's a big runner. I think, well, you spotted it first, and I think you're 100% right. I think that Eye of the Prophet would be my each way play, definitely in the race.
Yeah, we both like Eye of the Prophet. I was worried, obviously, about the money for Munchkin, but in the absence of that, I really prefer Eye of the Prophet to Desert Fox today, Neil, in that second race. Maybe you can just go the 2 horses in the PA. I don't think there was much else that really, of the first timers, Neil. I mean, there wasn't much going on. Silver Tudor, the 12. Lance Michael owns that. It's a full brother to that horse, Voltron, who was quite well performed for Sean Terry, the filly Voltron. And then the 13 Sylvan Theatre, who's drawn badly, is a half brother to Mbewu. So there were a couple of well-bred first timers there. But I thought one of the race horses would win it, and I'm going for Eye of the Prophet, as you are. On to the third, the start of the pick 6 at 1:15. It's a maiden plate, fillies and mares, 1,200 meters. Now, the scratchings here are 4 Back to the Futures out, 6 Constitutional Hill is scratched, and 8 Lady Crusaders out. And also number 13 comes out as well, Trail Breaker. So with 4 scratchings, 10 runners go to post here. Number 2, Ayir Sophia, merit rating of 11, is ridden by apprentice Siyanda Sasibo, who claims 4 kilos. And the other change is 1 Gaetana, Alamites front unshot behind, and compression mask on 2. Neil, this first timer, Bonete, filly by Kamari, very well bred for de Kock and Randall Simons, is 18-10 favorite.
Well, what a pedigree. And, of course, stamped by Quirari, who doesn't hang about. There's plenty of pace there. He can get them to stay as well. So I think in time to come, obviously being from the family that she's from, she will need a bit of ground. But You know, with the Korari stamp there, she could be precocious, and the money for her suggests so. Just the draw's not great, Nico, of 14, but she will be benefited because she had the worst of the draw out of 14. But now with all those scratchings, it makes her task a little easier. Interesting, a couple of first timers. Number 12, Storm Dominator, and Elusive Ford. A couple of others. I see Alec Laird's got a Crusade in there. So I thought a very open race. Punters should tread warily. Both of you and I thought that number 10, Rennie, who's a give me the green light out of that Mater Familiaris, the Pater Familiaris family, from a one draw, could improve.
Yeah.
So lots of question marks here. I spent a bit of time looking at this race. The biggest quandary I actually had was how on earth they gave number 2 a merit rating of 11. I'm not so sure how it's deserved that. But anyway, yeah, interesting race.
Yeah, Neil, it is interesting. Wow, who's quoted at 4-1, also doesn't have the best of draws, but JP had a good ride in it last time out. And if Back to the Future was in the race, you'd have fancied Back to the Future a bit, even though it was drawn wide and only finished a neck behind it. So if you gave Back to the Future a chance, which I would have, I would have thought Wow would come into it too. So the first timer could be anything. We'd have to wait for the comments on that. I know most of the comments on Saturday were that they hadn't seen the grass, all these newcomers, and this was sort of a grass gallop more than anything else. But we'll wait to see if the money does come for that. So I put in 3, 4, 5. I even put in the one Gaetana at 14-1. I thought that had a chance on its run, so I wouldn't leave that running loose at 14-1. And then further down, Rennie. Good Cape Town form in that Storm Dominator. Didn't like the race at all. Another tricky race. Well, we could get an upset result there too. Okay, race 4 has dwindled down to just 4 runners. They've scratched East Coast and Total Protection 1 and 2. It's the start of the first jackpot, a 3-year-old handicap for merit rated 94 horses, 1,700 meters. Here, Climate Control and Good Counsel dominated the betting. And this is where we heard a little birdie tell us something.
Yes, for Good Counsel, Nico, and not surprisingly, because Climate Control and Good Counsel met once before, and Climate Control at level weights came out and beat him. I don't really see any evidence to suggest that that result will be reversed here. You know, we've got an Oratorio that we bought at the sales. I think he's an underrated stallion, and he does get them to run. They're good. You may argue that perhaps he doesn't have too many classic horses, but I think he's a very good bread and butter horse. And the Oratorios go well on both surfaces. And he throws a nice horse. And I would imagine this one would have been a nice one, bred by Pippa and the team at Aventura Thoroughbred Farm. Got some good form, getting better. One draw, not that it really matters in a 4-horse field, but for me, Good Counsel, definitely, Necker.
Yeah, so I agree with that. You know, I did my homework in terms of my ratings. I made Climate Control on its maiden win slightly less than the 90. I know they've given it a 90, but I thought it was in the sort of the upper 80s. I'd say 87, 88. And then Good Counsel's last 2 runs, the second to Grinkov, I rated that 93. And then the winner, Flag Bearer, as much as 96, Neil. So thinking of that out aloud, maybe Good Counsel is better than rated, carrying level weights. I'm with Good Counsel as well there to beat Climate Control. Let's move to race 5. It's a graduation plate, fillies and mares, 1,200 meters. You can scratch number 6, Blinded by the Light, as out of race number 5. And that's the only change here. Looking at the betting, 14-10, Kiss Me Captain, bidding for the hat trick. I think Michael Azzey's got some nice horses for the Soul family, Neil. There was the man third in that feature on Saturday as well, which was great. I thought that ran a tremendous race. Anyway, Kiss Me Captain's 14-10, Antigua Knights at 2-1, and Time for Glory at 33-10. Your feelings?
Yeah, look, I respect Time for Glory a little bit, but I do think it smacks of a bit of a boat race between 3 Kiss Me Captain and 5 Antigua Knight. I think you've got to respect Antigua Knight and Time for Glory, I suppose, because they are it's a graduation plate, and they being one-time winners and Kiss Me Captain being a 2-time winner, get that weight advantage. So I think, you know, if it was a normal if everything was on flat weights, I think Kiss Me Captain would be a deserved short price favorite. But I think Antigua Knight certainly is going to be competitive. And for that reason, I like actually probably just number 5, Antigua Knight, as my first choice. I would have gone 5, 3, and 7. Those are the 3 that I would
I'm
go
not going to deviate from that too much, Neil. I'm going to agree with you and say Antigua Knight for me is the horse to beat ahead of Kiss Me Captain and Time for Glory. I see it very much the same way as you, 5, 3, and 7. And we're not going to spend too much time at laboring that issue. On we move to the 6th race. I think this is where it gets meatier. The last 3 races aren't as clear cut, although the 7th I thought was a bit easier than the 6th. This one at 3 o'clock is a merit rated 80 handicap, 1,000 meters. This is up the straight. And in race 6, number 4, Epic Dream, they've put the blinkers on that now. Didn't wear the blinkers last time out, which I think will be in its favor. Well, Spielberg is short priced, a fairly short price, I say, at 9-4. You've then got 9-2, number 2, Twice as Splendid, 5-1, number 1, Samuel Salt, 6-1, number 8, Stormy Seas, and 7-1, Bronco Blitz, 8-1, Pendragon. Open race?
Yes, I think open. I mean, obviously Spielberg has won his last 2, but he is 2 kilograms worse off with Stormy Seas from the last victory, although that was a very impressive victory. So you might argue, you know, he could have won somewhat easier, but on pure form, you'd have to say Stormy Seas will be more competitive. And I didn't particularly think Stormy Seas was my first choice either. So, yeah, I was scratching the surface looking for something else, Nico. You know, we often have punters on Clocking the Gallop who say to us what they like frequently as a big help for them is when we identify the field race of the day. In fact, I get some people DMing me and saying, Neil, where's the field race today? That's all they want to know. They want to know where to go wide. And I would go wide here. And I know Spielberg is fancied and he's obviously a lovely son of Futura. But just carrying 59, 8 draw, for me, well, actually it's up the straight anyway, so that doesn't really make a difference. I just think that this is probably a race where you go wide.
Okay, several come into it. Yeah, I thought Bronco Blitz number 3 was a lively chance with Pierce Stratum. He's ridden it once before, and he ran 4th with behind Blue Eyed or Big Eyed Girl.
Yeah. Huge runner, Nico. Huge runner.
I thought that was a big
runner. There you go. You're 100% right. I would rather go each way Bronco Blitz than a win on Spielberg. That's for me. That would be. I'd rather speculate on that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Mescal's changed stables. As you mentioned, Spielberg effectively has changed stables, even though he's gone next door to Robin Klaassen, but he has changed yards at Turfstone. And, you know, he's won really well the last 2. I've tipped him the last 2. I gave him a big chance of winning today. And but I don't know if it's as clear-cut as 9-4 and 7-1 Bronco Blitz. There's others that come into it. So therefore, we've played this one wide. And as you mentioned earlier on, we've taken a jackpot, or take a bit jackpot today. We've gone field in that leg, looking for the spooks. Race 7 comes up next at 25 to 4.
Nico, just before you move on, just one other one, just to sing. We are going to go field there, but I wouldn't leave Vasilikos out of my swingers there. I think Vasilikos is good value with Rachel Vernicker on. The last 2 runs have been very poor, but that's not his ability, in my opinion. He was down at Gravel. I think you mentioned offline. He's back up the straight here. And I think, you know, he's run close up to Mercantor and a couple of other performers. I think he's quite good value, Vasilikos, with Rachel Vernicker and her claim.
Okay, point taken there, because if you look at that run to Bright Green, Bright Green's very highly thought of by the yard. And if you took it at level weights, it's only 1.45 behind. So I think you've got a point there. Vasilikos nicely priced 16-1. So that's why we're looking for that maybe to come through and win for our jackpots. Race 7 at 15.35 is a classified stakes over 2,000 meters. Now, Neil, we know that in the classified stakes, fillies and mares are well treated. In this particular case, because it's a 2,000 meter race, they get a 2.5 kilogram sex allowance. So Mirren is the only mare in the race. In fact, no, she's not, because Song of Angels is also one. But Mirren, 3-1 is joint favourite with Sir Tallinn at 3-1. And then you've got Banner Bridge, Alistair Cohen's horse at 4-1, Master of Coin 4-1, and Cool Baikel at 9-2. I think it all hinges on Mirren coming back to the party, because Stratham rode an absolute blinder on this when he won in at 3 runs back. That was the race I called at Turfentine on the inside track. Her form at the classic course hasn't been as good as it has been on the inside course, and that may be a worry, but certainly at the weight, she comes in with a big chance.
Yeah, and I think she's pretty classy, Nico. You know, at this level, she's going to be very effective. She was very well looked after, I thought, by Dave Nevenhuizen, and subsequently now Baron Burtis, who's got the next 2 wins from her. And I think the booking of Pierre Stratham is a huge plus. He won on her 3 runs ago, and just to the nature of the race, I think that she for me has to be the standard to beat. The other filly in the race is very interesting. I'm gonna say this very tongue in cheek, because some people might take it literally, and but it's meant tongue in cheek. But if you have a look at number 7, Song of Angels, you know that what happens with a cuckoo. You know, a cuckoo goes into the nest and then blends into everything else, but it isn't really the bird; it's a cuckoo.
Yeah.
I'm wondering with when Song of Angels won, was it a cuckoo? Because I mean, it looked like somebody ought to have checked the passport. I mean, it had.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, look at it. You got to laugh. That's what I say. I say it tongue in cheek.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Flash in the
It was
pan.
one of the worst maidens ever, and then it won at 66-1, and it's gone back to being the real horse, not the cuckoo.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I don't know. It's a strange. In the cold light of day, it looks like bizarre form. So I don't know what it found that day or whatever happened, and whether it was a particularly weak field, but there's been a winner from it. But even carrying 51.5 kilograms, unless the Song of Angels, who arrived to win its maiden, rocks up, I can't see her being competitive, even though it is, as you say, a race where the fillies are well in. I think, well, you tell us, you think number 4, Master of Coin, is the
Well,
value.
I thought Master of Coin, you know, for the Aussies had a big chance because of that Arlington Action run, Neil. Arlington Action seems to be coming up in my estimations. It beat the Inkasana, who won again. So it's fresh out of the maidens, but I thought it was quite nicely treated at the weights, Neil, against the likes of horses like Banner Bridge and Sir Tallinn. It was coming in with 58 on its back, and, you know, I just felt that it had a bit of a chance. You also mentioned to me this morning a little bit of West Point, so let's mention him very quickly, because he comes in with a nice galloping weight too, West Point.
Yeah, he is. And he's an oratorio. We touched on that earlier on. A Daughter's Legacy was a very nice race filly, a race mare. And, you know, I quite like the pedigree. I'm not, if you're looking for spooks, if you're looking for conspiracy theories here, Baron Burtis has the 2 runners in the race. So he's got the favorite with Mirren. And then he's got number 2, Sir Talon, who I've spoken at length on clocking the gallop. And so far, I've saved money, because I mentioned how when he was in Cape Town, we used to go for him repeatedly, and he just couldn't get his head in front. And he's come very close since he shifted to Joburg. But again, he hasn't won. You know, but he's run to Blondac, to Legislate's Dance. Clarkson came out and franked that form again on the weekend. But, you know, I haven't even been keeping him safe, because he's just an expensive horse to follow as far as a win bet is concerned. But, you know, I see there's money for him. That's why I say there's money for him today. And remember, the Mirren is a stable companion. So, but for us, I think it's going to be 5 and 4, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be 5 and 4 for us there, those 2. And then the last race, Neil, runs at 11 minutes past 4. So it's an early finish today. Race 8 is a classified stakes over 1,450 meters. And here they've scratched number 6, Iron Tail. Number 7, Written in Stone, is a late scratching now. That's come out, as well as number 9 twice as well. So 6, 7, and 9 are out. Earmuffs go on number 8, Mabaneng. And they've taken the cheap beaters off that, put the earmuffs on instead. That's at 25-1. Now, Neil, we discussed this race, very tough. The favorite is again for the Burtis Vosloo partnership, Berengaria, who's going for 3 in a row. It's 60 kilos. Although it is a fillies and mares, rather it is a filly running in a classified stakes, it does get an allowance. It would have carried a little bit more. I think it would have carried like 60. But basically, Berengar is 18-10, and the horse directly below it, Burmese Tiara, is at 15-4. So the top two fillies are the top two in the betting. Never Too Clever, I liked last time out. It's been backed again 9-2, and then you've got Funky Music at 8.5 or 17-2, and then 10-1 Bar. Again, I didn't like this race. I certainly would be backing against the 1 and 2 horses here.
Yeah, a lot of pudding for those two to carry, and I think you're right. The race is very open. I think you mentioned to me Funky Music this morning. Got no weight really on his back in the context of the race, because the SIBO takes the 4 kilograms off. But it is deep. You can make a case out for a whole bunch of horses here, particularly the fillies who are well in. Number 12, High Flyby, who's got the benefit of a 1 draw. Number 8, Mabaning, I mentioned to you this morning. The last couple of starts not great, but if you go back to some Vaal Classic form, when she shed a maiden and behind Monashada, she's got an upset chance. Very, very open race. So along with the other race that we said you go wide, I think this is definitely one to think laterally for.
Yeah, you mentioned some real nice outsiders over there. Look right down at the bottom, Rose Willow sneaking off. It's a draw
over the page. Yes.
Yeah, that's over the page. The 15 comes in with just 54 kilos, lightest weighted horse in the race. Apart from, Funky Music, Neil, I give Sasibo a stick. He's a lovely chap. I mean, we saw him at the races again on Saturday. He really is a wonderful guy. He hangs around with all the senior riders, hoping that they'll rub off on him. And I hope they rub off on him too, because he needs some guidance, I think. And look, he's pretty tall, and I'd like to get his confidence up. I'd like him to have another winner. I've been quite lucky with him, actually, when I backed some of his horses. So I do like Funky Music today at a nice price, but I think it's very open, though.
Yeah, funny you should mention it was tall, because I asked you. I said I hadn't met him before, and I said, "Gee, who's that tall apprentice?" And you said it was Sasibo, but they're nice and slim. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, all these kids, we wish them all the best. I mean, they're all very likable. Their manners are impeccable. I have to say, I've never met a jockey from the academy who's ever been offish or rude. And to that extent, I must compliment the discipline and the schooling that they receive, because they are always extremely polite, well presented, and he fits the bill. So we always wish that they can, but in truth, it's like anything in life, not everybody's going to make it, and some will be better than others, but we wish them the best. I think an open race, that last race, Nico. I'm going to be looking for a couple of those fillies I mentioned to surprise.
Okay, Neil, that'll take care of racing today. As I said, we do have a take a bet show. I've done that with Flo earlier on today. We've taken the second jackpot. We've gone pretty wide in a couple of legs and short in the other two. Neil, we do race on Saturday. Quick comment there, because you've got Ready to Fly, the Ben Mag Bloodstock horse running on Saturdays. Our horses are being stepped out. All our Give Me the Green Light seem to be coming out now, and it's quite exciting.
Well, before I mentioned Ready to Fly, I was super impressed with your horse's debut, Nico, from a poor draw. Showed good pace and stayed on really nicely. So very promising for Miraculous Man and all those involved. So well done to you. He might yet be the best of the lot. So the last one to appear might be the best one of that batch anyway. But coming back to Ready to Fly, as you know, because Mike copied you in on it, he sent us a voice note pointing out two things. First of all, that she will need the run. He feels she'll need the run because she's in a very strong field. The horse that beat us on debut is unbeaten, is taking us on. What's she called again, Nico?
Captain Peg.
Captain Peg. So we will need the run, but I have to say, as you heard, not so much reading between the lines, but Mike says she's wintered really well, and he's very happy with Ready to Fly and how she's filled out. And he's always said that. He said that publicly and to us, that she was extremely green and didn't know much about racing when she was racing as a 2-year-old. And from what we gather, she has wintered well, and the spring has done her good. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing her in the flesh. But I would imagine in that company she'll probably need the run. But we are, as we all are with anybody who owns racehorses, ever optimistic.
Yeah, ever the optimist. And we'll see you on Saturday, I'm sure, at the track. I'm calling, and hopefully call her to run a good race on Saturday. We've got racing in the Eastern Cape tomorrow, so we'll be doing our regular spots tonight with Nino, tomorrow with MX. So looking forward to the Fairview card tomorrow. Neil, thanks. That's been a wrap for Thursday. Have a good day, and hopefully we'll catch that jackpot today.
Thanks, Nico.